but this is not a JB case discussion. This is a discussion on center to edge aiming, and specifically, this is a discussion on knocking the knockers. So, CTE is, as always, still a heated discussion, but it's only heated because there's a small core group of knockers that come out of the woodwork. They don't come out of the woodwork, they're just always there. It's like they wake up every day looking for another, anytime there's any CTE discussion, there they are, knocking it and telling people, oh, you don't need that, just that's all nonsense. It's all religious. It's like religious fervor or something. And I'm doing this live, by the way, because my phone's out of memory, and so I don't want to do a video and then have it tell me, that it's done. So I'm recording this live, and if anybody watches, great, but I don't expect anybody to just show up or stay here, and I'm going to be rambling a little bit. But the big deal here for me is this, is that for 20 years now, 2021, so 1997, Hal Hull showed up, so for 24 years now, the same small group of knockers, and I'm serious, this is the same small group of knockers, has been persistent in knocking something that they refuse to learn. I mean, it's crazy, actually, the way that it has. I mean, I can't think of anything that's consumed my life more outside of my family and my business than this subject. Me personally, I never wanted to mess with aiming systems, or I didn't think I needed them. I thought I was a decent player, and I was a decent player. So I've run 98 balls in straight pull. I've run 5 racks of 8 ball. I've run 5 racks of 9 ball. I've run 8 and out a lot in one pocket. Not so much anymore in the last, time frame. But I mean, my highest in one pocket, I ran 14 balls. So the point I'm making is that I'm an average player, a little bit above average probably. And I didn't think that I needed aiming systems. I thought, okay, well, I know how to aim. And anyway, I got kind of dragged into it by a friend of mine. And me being polite, I met up with the guy, Hal Hull, who is the proponent of the objective aiming systems. He berated me a little bit, for giving someone what he thought was bad advice on Ghost Ball, to use Ghost Ball, which is pretty much in every basic book on pool. But when I settled down and listened to the guy, I saw that there was something to it, and that sort of set me off on the journey, and by simply going to the forum back then, and relating my experience and saying, hey, I met this guy today, he showed me this aiming system, I don't know how it works, but it's working, I'm pocketing balls, I'm making shots that I've always had trouble with. By simply doing that, this small group of knockers turned their attention to me and started knocking me, telling me that I'm a religious zealot, and now I'm converted, and oh my gosh, now there's another one. And this shit has gone on for 20 years, 24 years. It's unbelievable. Like, they ignore the thousands of people out there who have taken the time to learn this, not only to learn it, but to learn it in depth and also to teach it. So the most high-profile guy out there teaching center-to-edge aiming right now is Stan Shuffett. His son Landon grew up steeped in this, is a 7-time national champion. Stan himself is an older gentleman, who's long since retired from 30-year career in teaching school. And he still plays at a high level, despite pool being, part-time in his life. He's dedicated like the last 15 years, 14 years to trying to discover everything that he can about center edge aiming and the why of why it works, not the math. Okay, forget the fucking math. Sorry, I'm cussing, but forget the math. If I wrote the math of ghost ball on a chalkboard here, you would look at it like, okay, so what? Ghost ball's easy. You imagine a ball, you replace that ball with the cue ball, that's it, right? That's the easy concept of ghost ball. It's just hard to do in actual play and practice because you're trying to imagine what's not there. So objective aiming systems use what is there. The ball is there, the edges of the ball are there, the center of the ball is there, so you're using these objects that are physically in front of you with no other imagination needed. Now there is refinement needed. You need to train your vision to be able to actually accurately see the center of the ball, to know that you're there. But the main thing about it is that there's thousands of people out there who have taken up the mantle of trying to learn this, and hundreds of them at least, have had amazing success with it. Thousands of them, maybe tens of thousands, have had pretty good success with it. It's intoxicating. You can learn enough to be a better aimer, to aim better, aim objectively, without having, to learn every little part of the system, every nuance of it. Now, for some people like me, I'm interested in all the nitty-gritty details of it, and it's been an obsession. I want to know, why does this work? Not the math, but kind of more like in depth of what could be the possible drivers that make this work better than ghost ball or feel or just see it or hit a million balls until you can just do it without thinking. Those things can work with enough effort. Now, an objective aiming system works with the proper application, with actually seeing what's going on the table, with seeing the relationship to the balls. But it doesn't replace fundamentals. It doesn't make anyone stroke better. It doesn't give me any better touch or any better speed control. It doesn't help me to understand patterns better. There's nothing, CTE, centered edge aiming, or any aiming system doesn't do any of that for you. Okay? There's no aiming system that does any of that for you. So all that is important. Fundamentals are important. What Stan calls pool sense is important. Knowing the physical reactions of the balls, knowing what happens when balls are dirty, when they're clean, when the cloth is fast, when it's moisture. All that stuff is outside of aiming. But the knockers, they like to knock in a couple different categories. One is they like to insinuate or even outright say that proponents of aiming systems claim that aiming systems will make you a champion and correct everything, and that if you adopt an aiming system, you'll just jump 4, 5, 10, 15 levels or whatever. To use the Fargo rating system, you'll jump from being a 400 to an 800. No one who is a proponent of aiming systems has ever said that. No one. That's a red herring. No one's ever said it. The next thing is feel. So when we talk about aiming systems, we talk about the elimination of feel. And especially with CTE, it basically takes most of the feel or guesswork out of aiming. And these guys are like, no, it doesn't. You're still using feel. You're just fooling yourselves. All of you are delusional, they say, because you can't eliminate feel. So when we talk about eliminating feel in the aiming process, we're talking about eliminating guessing. It's that simple, like this. So, by the way, this is Stan's book. This is Stan's book, which is engendered the latest round of aiming threads and conversation. This book is called Center Pocket Music. Using CTE Pro 1 to improve your pool game. So the other day I made a little box opening video on this, and I said, Center Pocket Music, because I know Stan sings a little bit and stuff, so I wrongly assumed, that it had something to do with that. What it has to do with is the sound the balls make when they hit center pocket. That pleasing sound. And most of you who play a little bit know what that sounds like. You know what a well-struck ball sounds like when it goes into the pocket. It's not even just, it's before it hits the pocket, there's the sound of the cue, and then it hits the pocket, and it's like that's the final note to that little, song that you played right there. So that's what, and this is a riff on a famous Kentucky sports broadcaster who used to say, like, Stan told me this the other day, but he used to say something along the lines of center hole string music when a basketball would go through the hoop was swished without touching the rim. So he called the book Center Pocket Music, and his explanation, of course, is way better than my assumption, and of course also true. So that's why it's called Center Pocket Music, okay, in case you're wondering. But this is an excellent book. This is very, very comprehensive. It represents 15 years of learning, of discovery, and continuous improvement. Stan put out a couple DVDs before, and then he had to make a few corrections to them, because you get excited, you get enthusiastic when you're trying to put something together, and none of this would have come together without these haters. So the knockers, I have to say, reluctantly, but I have to give credit where credit's due. The one good thing that comes about because they knock is proving that CTE works. Putting it out there so that there's no excuse for not knowing it. So they're going to continue to knock and still not learn it. Like, in my opinion, if you want to knock something, you should learn it. Go in so that you're good enough where you could teach it and explain it, and then you could knock it. But none of these guys do that. And they show that with their criticisms. Because when they get the answers, and the answers are not what they like, then they come back with, oh, well, you guys are just religious nuts, and that can't possibly be the answer, or whatever said, that can't possibly be the answer. Where's the math? This is what they always end up with. Where's the math? Show me the math. None of you have ever learned pool using a mathematical equation. You haven't. About the most math that you get in pool is if you use some kind of a diamond system that requires you to count the rails, count the spots, and then, divide or add to get your aiming references, which, by the way, is objective aiming. So a few of these knockers, they promote diamond systems, which are simply looking at the lines, getting your reference points, doing some simple math a lot of the time, and shooting like that. Now, having said that, they know that these diamond systems work, and yet there was a lot of great players that played without those diamond systems. They learned the diamond systems after they became great players. So no, you do not need the diamond systems to become a great player. You do not need an aiming system to become a great player. These are tools. These are tools that help you to play better pool, but you can become a good player without them. I've done videos on this and showed it. But anyway, let me show you something. So when we talk about objective aiming here, what we mean is we don't guess. We don't just come in and lay down and shoot, or we don't come over here and look for some kind of a contact point, that's invisible on here and try to hold on to it. Even that, if you try to hold on to a contact point right there, that's still more objective than simply winging it, simply feeling it. But it's subjective because you're trying to find a point. You're trying to find a tiny point on a sphere. And you're trying to figure out how this ball is going to contact that point, what part of this ball is going to contact that point. See, it gets very deceptive. You can fool yourself a lot, and that's why a lot of players miss, because they think they're on the right line when they use guessing and a contact point to try to get into the shot. And the best one I know is line of centers, right? This is one that a lot of people like to use. They use line of centers. That's all you need is line of centers. Well, if you're guessing or you're using inadequate references, so if you come over here and there's a center line right there, that's a line of the center, and then you come over here and that's a line of the center, Well, if you go directly to this line right there where it comes out the back of this ball right here, from here you are going to miss the ball because you're not in the right space. You're not. So you're going to have to make a subconscious adjustment for that. So when they talk about line of centers, what they're actually talking about is this. This is the ghost ball center right there. And then if you go to the center of the 7 ball, that is your line of centers. Now you're on the right line. But guess what? You don't have a ghost ball. You do not have a ghost ball here, nor do you have a center of the ghost ball. So you have to imagine it. And you have to hope that your imagination is pretty good so you can imagine a fully formed ball and then see the center of that ball so you can line up to it to get your shot line. And the shot line is the line that you have to take. Right? So if I want to cut this 7 ball in, I can't shoot here. I can't shoot here. There's only one line on the table that works, and it's right here. Right? So that's my line to make this ball. That is the shot line. Because the only thing that I'm going to do physically is I'm going to use my cue stick to hit this cue ball. That's it. What happens after that is all dependent on what line this takes. Okay? So assuming that the table is straight and everything, there's not any other outside influence. If that ball is hit down the correct line, it must contact the 7. The 7 must go, right? So that's the shot line. But the thing is that you don't know what that line is. So there's no laser beam here to tell you what that line is. So if you're using ghost ball, you've got to kind of come over here and find where the center is and then back it up over here. And then, if that's right, step in on that line or drop down on that line. This is the conventional way that we're told to aim. So along comes objective aiming in the form of Hal Hoole and about 30 systems that he developed, over the course of his life. And of those systems, center to edge aiming is the one that has become most prevalent and is actually the most accurate of them. With center to edge aiming now, you can use what I call keys, basically, or visualizations, as Stan calls them. That's the proper way to say it. And reference points here, using those reference points, which are the center of the cue ball, right there. That's easy to see because the center is always where the cue ball touches the table. And the edges of the object ball as looked at from the cue ball. So if the cue ball had eyes, you'd be looking at the 7 right here. You could see this is the edge of the 7. That's the edge of the 7 right there. So if it was a box, that would be an edge, and that would be an edge, and this would be an edge. So left and right. So those are objective references, right? I can see them. And I can see the center of the 7, right where it touches the table right here. So with that in mind, with these reference points, I've got the edges of the cue ball. I've got the center of the cue ball. I've got the same thing over here. And then, because I can find the center right there, so between my fingers, there's the center. Now I can divide that in half and I have a quarter. And I can divide it in half over here and I have a quarter. That's it. Those are the references. So with those references, you can make almost any shot on the table, or you can, let me put it a different way. You can get aligned properly to almost any shot on the table using those objective, clear references. You don't need to imagine a ball. You don't need to feel your way into it. You don't need to think, is this right or is this partially right? In fact, this is the cool part about objective aiming is there will be a lot of shots, especially when you're learning it, there will be a lot of shots where you get down on the shot having aimed it using the aiming method, and it won't feel right to you. And the reason that it doesn't feel right to you is because the way you have been aiming that particular shot was wrong, but it felt right to you. And maybe you didn't track how many times you missed it or made it, or whether you used body English to make it, whether you geared it in because you were wrong. But the fact is that if you're dead nuts aimed correctly and it feels wrong to you, then that means whatever you were doing before on that type of shot was wrong to aim it, because otherwise it would feel right to you. But the beauty of this is there's a lot of those shots that feel wrong, and if you go ahead and shoot the ball, you'll find out it goes right in. And that first time you shoot the ball like that, it's going to be a funny feeling because you've never actually been on the correct shot line. And the more you do that, the more it becomes natural and ingrained to just say, whatever line that this method gave me, that's the right shot line. And then the more you do it, the more you see then the right shot line, or you know that you're on the right shot line, and you don't have to second guess yourself and wonder if you are or if you're not. So like the title of this video is Knocking the Knockers. So one of these knockers, one time way back, 8 years ago or so or whatever, or longer, I made a video where I explicitly said, this guy does this. He's a knocker, but this is how he aims, which is ridiculous. And he got all whiny and complained to YouTube and said, oh, this guy's using my name. And YouTube actually took the video down, which was crazy because I didn't say anything bad about him. I didn't, there wasn't anything there. So for the purpose of this video, when I say any names, I'm not referring to real people, okay? I'm referring to characterizations of fictional characters and any resemblance to real people, any similarities of the names sounding like the names or anything like that. That's an inference that you may make as a viewer. But I'm not stating explicitly that any description of any characterizations of knockers, including whatever name I might make up, actually represents a real person. Okay, that's my legal disclaimer, and you guys can take it for what you want. I'll be happy to go to court with this if any of the people who think that I may be talking about them think that it's important enough to use this video to go to court. Happy to do that if you want to do it. So the first character that I want to talk about, we're gonna call him Bat Dumpson, okay? Bat Dumpson, and Bat Dumpson has been he's a 24-year veteran of the knock when it comes to aiming systems. And he'll say, he will say on the forums, you know, if Bat Dumpson was real, he would say on the forums things like, well, I'm not against them, you know, but they just don't do what the proponents say. Like, for example, eliminate feel. They don't eliminate feel. You know, everybody has feel. All they do is redirect feel and shit like this, you know, that he says. This is Bat Dumpson. So Bat Dumpson aims like this when he gets down on a shot. This is Bat Dumpson's way of aiming. Now, I'm telling you this because I had a dream. I had a dream that I went to a large Midwestern city where Bat Dumpson would live, if Bat Dumpson were real. And I met Bat Dumpson in my dream in a famous pool room in that large Midwestern city. And one of the things we did was talk about center to edge aiming. And I offered to show Bat Dumpson, you know, some of the techniques, and Bat Dumpson declined. Because Bat Dumpson already thinks he knows everything, and but he can't demonstrate anything. But you know, despite all that, Bat Dumpson is a decent player. You know, he's an above average player. He's about my speed. Possibly a little bit better. But for all of that, to get to that level, this is how Bat Dumpson aims. And I can't imagine, you know, how long it took him to get to any decent level with this method of aiming, right? This is exactly what, in my dream character, Bat Dumpson looks like when he plays, okay? The guy literally fidgets around. Every single shot, he fidgets around until he finds the line that he wants to take, till he finds the shot line. And he finds shot lines. You know, the guy is a decent player. Decent, not great, okay? He finds the lines. But it looks freaking ridiculous when he's doing it. And it would be impossible to teach. What would you tell somebody? What would you tell them here? You got a shot like this, right? What would you tell them? Oh, just go down and kind of hunt around until you find it. Let's see. It's somewhere there. I know it's somewhere. Okay, that's straight on. So that's like half ball hit. Okay, so it's got to be somewhere in between there. Okay, maybe it's there. This is not a long-term, this is not a formula for success, okay? Which is probably why Bat Dumpson only got to a certain level, you know, like a decent level, but not any better. Possibly, I don't know. But the fact is that would be almost the epitome of feel, right? The only method that would be worse than that, in my opinion, would be this. This would be the only method that would be worse, in my opinion. Getting up and one-stroking shit, just thinking you got it. That would be the only way that it would be worse, in my opinion, is if you were that type of aimer that just jumped on it without any consideration whatsoever and started shooting shots. Now, we all know people who do that, and we know some players who are good at that too. But we also know that often breaks down under pressure. You know, so you get under pressure and, you know, maybe you're good at getting up here and popping them in like this when there's no pressure on you. Maybe you're one of those super speedy players and you just jump up and you got this. We can all pop them in like that once in a while without any particular, look at that, I meant to do 2 rails. No, okay. Without any particular thought to it. Right? Feels good, looks good, right? But the fact is that in the course of a game, you're going to come up with so many different shots, and a lot of those shots are going to require more than simply popping down and shooting it. And there's a few players in the world, as we know, who can just run around the table at warp speed and one-stroke everything. Great, There's people who can do complex math in their head. There's people who can add and subtract and multiply faster than a calculator. Okay, those people are outliers. They're anomalies. They represent a particular extreme in a particular subject in a particular task. That doesn't mean that everyone else will be able to develop a technique that works the same like they have it. So the whole point of objective aiming systems is to help people visualize the shot and the alignment better than anything that has come before. And here's a kicker. Here's a kicker with this. You see how I just ran around and popped in, 3-4 shots right there? Now, I wasn't using any aiming system there. I wasn't trying to use any aiming system. But I can tell you this, at this point for me, even though I'm not trying to use an aiming system, I still automatically see those edges. So the people who are really good at it, who really have learned center to edge aiming to the point where it's become ingrained, they can literally walk around the table quickly and pocket shots, looking very natural, looking like they're not even trying, because they've got these objective aiming systems, because they've got clear references. They're able to get into the shot and be on the shot line well before or without any mental anguish, without any frustration, without any second guessing, because they've done it so well. They've learned it. They've learned how to see these shots. So for these guys, they just go up and it's like it looks natural. They step in, there it is. They don't even think about it. Because they've got, as they're coming in, their eyes are sweeping, using the system. I'm already looking at the 4-ball. When it stops, I'm right there. So did that really look much different than what I did a moment ago, where I was just laying down and popping the balls in? I don't think it would have looked much different to you, the viewer. So when Bat Dumsen says, I'm using feel, how would he know? How would he know what I'm doing? How would he know what I'm seeing and what I'm thinking and what reference points I'm using? Why is he going to tell me, Mr. Fidget aiming method, Mr. Hunt around until I find it, How's he going to tell me what I'm doing when I'm having success with what I'm doing? Just because he can't see it, just because he can't telepathically beam into my head and see how I'm addressing these balls, doesn't mean that what I'm saying I'm doing is not real and doesn't exist. That would also presuppose that I have some reason to lie to you about it. What reason would I have, or I or anyone else, to lie to you, the viewer, about how I'm aiming these balls? Am I sociopathic? Do I go to bed at night giggling to myself because I've ruined, 100 people's games who took me seriously when I said that that's what I'm using? Does Stan Shuffett go to bed at night with an evil grin, thinking to himself, I've just made the game tougher for 10,000 people? Of course not. Of course not. Which brings me to the next thing that these knockers put out there. And the next imaginary character, also from a Midwestern city, nothing against Midwestern cities, it's just these two happen to be from these two places. In my dream, of course, in my dream state. The next one, what are we going to call? What did I have for a name for him? Let's see. We'll call him Lucy Know Nothinga. Okay, Lucy Know Nothinga. That's what we'll call him. Lucy Know Nothinga. Okay, I got to say it like 3 times, like Beetlejuice, to get it in my head here. So Lucy Know Nothinga likes to go after Stan Shuffett and call him a snake oil salesman. So that's Lucy Know Nothinga likes to call CTE snake oil. Now, he's not gone after any other aiming systems, not one. So all the other aiming systems that people have come up with, some people have written books and made DVDs on these aiming systems. Lucy Know Nothinga has never, ever attacked any of those authors or any of those teachers or practitioners, not once that I have seen. Now, he may have done it, but in my experience, he hasn't done it. So Lucy Know Nothinga says, "Oh, it's just snake oil. You're just robbing these players. You're hurting them. You're making their game worse by selling them a bill of goods, with no substance to it." How do I say this, right? How do I say this? Even the most cursory examination of the effort that both Hal Houle and Stan Shuffett and other instructors have put into teaching objective aiming ought to be enough to convince these guys that something is there, that there is some substance there. Now, they don't know how much substance because they refuse to learn it. They've just latched on and said, we're going to knock it, and we're going to knock these people. And not only are we going to call the system snake oil, but we're going to call the practitioners and the teachers snake oil salesmen, which is basically saying liars. They're basically comparing us to traveling salesmen selling bottles of fake medicine, commonly called snake oil back in the day, like this snake oil will cure everything. Essentially lying to their customers, traveling from town to town, swindling as many people as they can and moving on. That's what these guys are trying to say about Stan Shuffett and other proponents of these aiming systems. They want to call us snake oil salesmen. What did I call it? What was that guy's name in my Lucy Know Nothinga, right? Lucy Know Nothinga. Lucy Know Nothinga is, again, another guy who's a decent player, not a champion. If we're talking about Fargo ratings, I would say he's probably a 640, maybe a 640. But he's a decent enough player, above average, about like a lot of us in that space. But Lucy Know Nothinga has convinced himself that he knows everything guy. And he's convinced himself that the only way to ever get better at pool is to spend 4 to 8 hours a day on the pool table shooting the same shots repetitively. Like there's no other way to learn to get good at pool. Now, I'm going to tell you that, again, center to edge aiming does not replace table time. It actually encourages table time. You must put your time in on the table to learn it. But here's the kicker. When you learn to aim objectively, now you can spend more time on your stroke, on your stance, on your fundamentals. You can actually spend more time on that stuff because now you're not second guessing yourself about the aim. So a great player, a top player said to me one time when we were having a conversation about this, about aiming systems and whether they have merit or not, he said to me something very important. He said, I have never, since I became a pro, this is what he said, since I became a pro, I have never missed a single shot because of my stroke. I have only missed shots because I wasn't sure about the aim. And I was wrong. I picked the wrong line. I stroked it straight down the wrong line, professionally, perfectly, and missed because I was on the wrong line. Now, you take a guy like me who has a shitty stroke, and I can be dead nuts perfect on the ball and still miss because I can throw it off with a little hitch of my shoulder or my butt wiggle or, I blink or my eyes or I do some dumb shit, and my particular body has been going through a lot of changes, in the past 20 years, including my back, and my lower back pain has been getting worse and worse. So now if I go down, my stance has changed. A lot about how I get into shooting stance has changed based on my pain levels. So even though I have a great way to aim, when I get down on the shot and I'm ready to execute, now I've got all these twinges and hitches and I'm tensed up and all kinds of crap. So I've got to unwind all that and relax and get back to, get back some of those fundamentals that I had before, which by the way weren't that great before because I'm an idiot, I'm just frenetic. But you take guys that already have developed great fundamentals, but they're never quite sure about their aiming, and you give them a great tool like CTE, an objective aiming system, and they just blossom. They blossom because now they can marry their really good stroke, their good form, with ultimate confidence in their aim. And how beautiful it is, when you're facing a tough clutch shot and you're not wondering whether you're aimed right, whether you're actually down on the, as Stan calls it, this is a new term I learned from his book, the no imagination shot line. Okay, so I call it the shot line. There's only one for the shot that works with no spin. Okay, and we'll get to that in a second. But the no imagination shot line, right? They didn't have to imagine it. They didn't have to guess at it. They used clear references, clear instructions. Bam, they're right there on the shot. Now they're beautiful stroke. Now they're great timing, they're great touch, everything. Now it results in a made shot and great position and running out more and winning more, getting more accolades, getting invited to better parties, their skin tone clears up. See, if I said all that for real, that would be selling snake oil. But the fact of it is that as we know, the goal is to pocket balls, right? And keep pocketing balls until there's no more balls and you've won the game. And to keep winning games until you've won the set and keep winning sets until you've won the tournament then you get the trophy, then you get the check. And what you do with the trophy and the check, that's up to you. But at least you've got it in your hands to do something with it. And you get that good feeling. Right? So, why wouldn't we want to have a tool that helps us along that goal of having more success on the table? Right? Why wouldn't we want that? Now, doesn't it make sense that if someone is putting in so much time and effort to teach other people these objective aiming methods, and center to edge in particular, that they are going to rise or fall with the success rate of their students, of the people who take them up on it? Doesn't that make sense? That there should be, if it's really snake oil in today's modern world, there should be hundreds and hundreds and thousands of people out there going, look, I gave this, 10 hours, 20 hours, whatever. I dedicated myself to it, and this just doesn't work. It's completely horribly inconsistent. There's just no way to make this work. Now I have, now I have spine problems because of all the twisting and everything I had to do to make it work. You know what I mean? That's what there should be. But instead, we have hundreds of testimonials, thousands of testimonials from people throughout all the different forums who have said that they've tried it and learned it, some to varying degrees. Some people learn just enough where they're able to pocket more balls, and to them, that's all they need. That's all they want. Some people get more in depth with it, and they can even do way more. For me personally, the moment for me where I said, I have to learn center to edge aiming as opposed to what Hal taught me, but whatever Stan was calling center to edge aiming, when I saw that show up on the forum, was when I saw Stan Shuffett do a banking demonstration and a shooting demonstration where the pockets were not even visible. The guy put a curtain over the table. Now, Hal Hool used to go get like a piece of paper or something and go like this, and he would hold it. He would hold it in front of the shot. Like you might have a shot like this, shooting to the corner, and he would go like this and just hold it here, or like this, and block the pocket, and say, go ahead and shoot it. So you don't even have the pocket as a reference point right there, and you would line it up and shoot it right in. Well, Stan Shuffett went super extreme with this, and he created a curtain system where he could put the curtain anywhere on the table at any angle, and the guy would just get up there and shoot racks out without seeing the pockets. You can find all this on YouTube. So when I say the proof is on the table, when I saw Stan doing that and banking like that, making 10 bank shots in a row without even being able to see the pocket or see the other rail, so he has no reference over here for the rail, like this is the shot, right? There's no reference. The whole rail is blocked over here. He shoots the one and banks in. He shoots it again, And these are not setup shots with, he just puts a ball out here, shoots it, moves it to a different position. It's not like trick shots where they're all diamond down and then there's little references on there and everything. It's not illusions. This is not a magic trick. This is a guy proving that the concept works in a way that should be pretty much undeniable. But Lou Know Nothingness persists after 24 years. Persists after 24 years of saying, this is just snake oil, These guys are just out to get your money, and don't buy into it. You don't need it. Just go get on the table and spend 8 hours a day doing repetitive shots, and that'll get you there. right? Well, that probably will get you there, but it's not going to equate to the joy of learning an objective aiming system and then going on the table and doing all the repetitive shots that you want, you know? Because learning a good aiming is the first thing you do when you play, right? Even if you're just plopping down, you're still doing some kind of aiming. So none of us shoot without aiming. But when you aim, when you know for sure, without a doubt, without any ill feeling, without any second guessing, when you know for sure that you're aimed correctly, that feeling right there, the feeling of power that it gives you on the pool table is just incredible. It's incredible, you know? And then you can look at your stroke, you know, you're on the dead nut perfect shot line, and if you then miss it, now you have a stroke problem, you know, and you need to deal with that. But at least you don't have to worry about, was I on the right line? Was I correct? Did I mess up my stroke or did I mess up my aim? Which is it? At least in that particular equation, you know that it was, when you know your aim is right, you know then that you have to work on your stroke. Okay, so that's Lou Know Nothingness. Okay? And by the way, Lou Know Nothingness will never get off his, you know, he's yap all the time, but he'll never get off his ass and play anybody, you know? He likes to embellish and talk about all the, you know, he won the Montana or the Wyoming or the, you know, whatever, the bumfuck nowhere state championship where there's like 3 people in the state. He won that, you know, like 1 year or something like that in his entire, you know, 60-year life. And that's his greatest accomplishment, you know. The point of it is, you know, and not to belittle state. I was a state champion in Colorado in the BCA league, you know, for one year. I won a state event and got my jacket, and you know, I was a state champion. So, you know, if a guy like me can do that, then it shouldn't be that hard for a guy who spends 4 to 8 hours on the table, you know, playing straight pool or something like that. You know, I mean, you know, he probably literally put in 2 to 3 times as many hours on the table as me in his life. So if he didn't win a state championship somewhere, you know, that would be surprising. But as far as state champions go, in this book, there's a story in here about Buddy Hall playing a state champion, and get this, Buddy Hall was playing left-handed. He's playing this guy for money, for real money, and he's playing left-handed when he's a right-hander. And he comes up against a shot, and Buddy said, in the book, of the way the story is related, Buddy says to himself, if I make this shot, I'm pretty sure this guy's going to quit me. And he said, you know what? I've been here all night. I'm tired of playing. I'm winning. I'm going to go ahead and make it and see what happens. He makes it. Sure enough, the guy quits. And Buddy says, I've always wondered how that state champion would feel if he knew that I was playing with my broken wing. That's what he called the opposite hand. The whole night. Can you imagine getting beat by somebody and the guy wasn't even playing with his dominant hand? And you don't, you know, and then to top that off, you never know it, you know? You might tell people in the future, oh yeah, I lost to Buddy Hall, but you wouldn't know that you lost to him and he wasn't even at full strength. He was playing with his opposite hand. So state champions are awesome. They're great, state championships. But just because somebody has one doesn't make them any more than a state champion for that time, that particular tournament at that particular time. Okay? So Lou Know Nothingness, Lucy Know Nothingness. We call him Lou for short. Lucy Know Nothingness. You didn't suddenly gain enlightenment because you won one trophy. Okay? The guy that wrote this book right here, you don't even have a house big enough for all the trophies that he has earned in his life. Okay? And his student, his number one student, his son Landon Shuffett, you can't even dream of having won as many tournaments and trophies as that young man has won. So stop knocking, stop trying to dissuade people from tools that could help their game and help them enjoy the game more. Okay? So there's that. Now, the next guy is, what was his imaginary name? Let's see. We'll call him Blowy O'Fally. So Blowy O'Fally is, I don't know, he's just been a constant little sniper thorn the whole time. His basic premise is, I think his basic premise is that aiming systems just aren't needed. They're not real anyway. And why would people bother to waste time on them? And anybody who's a proponent of them is just foolish, because in his opinion, the greatest players in the world don't use aiming systems, like he's in their head, right? Like this is another dude who's, thinks he's telepathic or something. But what he really is just another, he's basically just a sniper troll on the forums, And so I will give him this though, he's a halfway decent cue maker, who I think he makes like maybe 3 cues a year or something like that. I don't know, I think it's like a hobby to him, but he actually learned from a good cue maker. And from what I understand, his cues hit pretty good. He turned into a decent cue maker. But he's a shit turd human being, this Blowy O'Fally guy. So there's another shit turd human being who thinks that the coolest thing that he can do in a day is to knock somebody who actually created something worthwhile. So, when history, looks back on these times, no one's going to remember these guys' names, but this guy's work is going to stand the test of time. Somebody 50 years from now is going to pick up this book and find the information in it just as worthwhile as they find it to be now. In fact, 50 years from now, and this is just a hope from me, but 50 years from now, this might even be like just standard learning for anybody learning pool. That's how, if it really catches on and people learn how to teach it effectively, this contains probably more information than a person would ever need. You can still learn the system without devouring every single page on this book. This book contains not only how to learn how to use CTE, but it also contains a lot of thoughts, a lot of the process, a lot of the ways that the author came to these conclusions. There's a lot of history in here. So, it's a very informative book on a lot of, in a lot of other ways. So I'm not saying that you have to have this book and understand and absorb every single word on every single page to effectively learn how to use CTE, okay? But this is an objectively concrete example of a man who took something to heart, who followed it to all of the lines of conclusion that he could find, who's thought about it, just about every waking moment for 15 years, and has culminated in putting all of his thoughts down into this book. Big, heavy book, by the way. Somebody made a mention on the forum and said this is like what we used to call a coffee table book, nicely done, well bound. And Lou Know Nothinga, let's go back to him, in my dream, made some shitty comment like, oh, well, that just looks like a mock-up on wood when Stan was showing the book and introducing the book. I mean, these guys are the lowest form of scum that exists, in my opinion. They're truly scum. When I say scum, I mean, well, I'm actually giving scum a bad name, okay? Because these guys have brains. They're human beings. They have brains. They're not totally dumb, but they are totally malicious. Truly. They are truly, truly vile and malicious people. I can't stress that enough, how vile and evil and malicious people they are. They are liars. They are liars. They are liars. They are scum. They're worse than scum. In fact, if they were scum, they would have some sort of benefit to the world, Scum is produced by natural processes, and it does something somewhere that benefits something. And the only benefit for these haters is that they have provided motivation for this information to be produced. And this information will live long after their shitty ass names have been forgotten. So, like I said, I've been sitting here talking for 100 minutes now, which is ridiculous on this subject of talking about these dipshits. But, those are three of the main haters. Just remember that despite all of their hate for the past 24 years, they've not been able to stop others from learning, enjoying, and using the center to edge method of aiming, and in the process making themselves, those players who have learned this, making themselves into better players and having more fun at the table as they have more success at the table. They've not been able to stop it for all of their hate. All they've done is keep it alive, keep the threads alive. They make threads way longer than they otherwise would be, right? My friend Joey Azugan from Louisiana, from New Orleans, my friend Joey down there took it upon himself years ago to travel to Stan on his own money, to travel to Stan, to learn the system. Objectively, he had no bias whatsoever. He went there, he said, I'm going to go learn it, and I'll tell you guys the results. And this guy is honest as the day is long. He's not going to he's not going to lie for anybody. At least that's not been my experience. He went up there on his own money. He learned it. Joey is an above average player. Better than Lucy Know Nothinga, better than Bat Dumb, these people. Bat Dumpson, and better than Blowy O'Leary or whatever that character's name was, Blowy O'Fally, I think. It's so stupid. If there were real people who resembled these imaginary characters, I would say their names, but they're such wimps that they might go crying to YouTube or something like that, claiming they're bullied just because I mentioned their names, talking about activities that they publicly do. One of them, in my imaginary dream, did this and had a video taken down. So we're not going to mention any real names to protect the guilty. But the point that I was making here is that this is concrete. This is objective. The information is here. Guess what? This guy is so generous. He made a series of 25 videos in advance. This is a years-long project. He made a series of 25 videos called the Truth Series about center to edge aiming that he put up for free for everybody. So you don't have to buy the book. So Lucy, what do we call him? Blagofira or something or whatever. Lucy wants to call this guy a snake oil salesman, yet this guy has given hundreds of hours to people for free. So when I met Hal Houle, Hal told me one thing. This is what he said to me. He said, when it comes to talking about the aiming systems and everything, he said, look, just pass it on to as many people as you can. That's all I really want, is I want these systems to get out there. I want people I want other people to go over them and learn them and refine them. And he specifically warned me. He said, don't talk about it on the internet. You're just going to get knocked. Well, I'm sorry, Hal. I didn't follow that advice. Neither did Stan Shuffett. Neither did anybody else who learned from you, who we know of. I'm sure that there's people who learned from you who were content just to learn the system, get their benefit out of it with no need to go share it and talk about it and discuss it. But that's not us. We want to share it. We want more people to learn it. We want more people to have more success at pool. So we don't do this for the money. Look, I sell pool cue cases. I know what shit costs to make. I know what it costs to ship. I know what a hassle it is to pack and ship stuff. And at the price that he's selling this book at, I don't think there's a lot of profit in there, for them. Especially not worth 24 years of, let's say 15 years of getting knocked by these haters, and they have said some truly vile things to this man and to his wife. It's ridiculous. The level of vitriol that they have poured on him has just been ridiculous. And then this guy is a kind gentleman, but once in a while, he's responded, with a little bit of a temper back to these guys after just getting knocked forever. And then they jump all over that and say, see how terrible he is. He can't take any criticism. It's idiots, complete idiots. Joey Auguzin, I told you, Auguzin, went to Stan, learned the system, took it home, practiced with it, made sure that he fully understood it. Then he wrote his review. Nice, long, laid out review, told everybody exactly, what he thought of it, what the strengths were, what the weaknesses were, in his opinion, weaknesses. And he could demonstrate it adequately. He could demonstrate it with mastery. He understood the terms. He understood the visuals. He got into the line correctly. He got into the shot line correctly. That's a man who has a right to criticize. If there were anything to be critical of, that's a man who has the right to criticize because he went and he learned the subject. But what happened? He became a vocal supporter because as a former Marine, all he cares about is what works. right? There's no faith-based, there's no, trust, just trust it and all this other shit. There's either this works and I'm going to use it to vanquish my opponents, or it doesn't work, or it's inconsistent and I'm just going to let it go and I'm just going to, do whatever else works for me. And he found that it works, and he's been a proponent ever since. And he made a thread on AZ Billiards and said, the long-awaited book is here. Put it up there, and what happened? The thread turned into another hater fest with the three main clowns and some ancillary clowns jumping in. And once again, a thread that should have been, 5 posts where people were like, oh, great, that's great to hear, good, where do I get it? What do you think of it? A thread that should have been something like that is now 7-8 pages long because of these haters. But again, because of the haters prolonging the threads, we get to talk about it even more, including making videos like this. So, there you go. Now, I'm sure some of you are saying, well, fine, that's all well and good, but why don't we get to the pool? Why don't you show us something? All right, I'll try to show you something, okay? So, just to preface this, what I do here is what we call basic CTE. This is the very basis of it. It is not the Pro 1 version of CTE. It is not the stepping the ball, angled face, disguised pivot CTE. See, all these are terms that some of you may not know about. But all of these terms came about through this process, this intense process that Stan did over 14 years of trying to learn what are the more concrete steps to use this and to be accurate and to use it more accurately and to make it more accurate. That's what he's achieved, And as I say, the proof is on the table. So that's it. Go watch the guy's videos if you don't believe me. This is the challenge I make to everybody. If you don't believe me, okay, whatever way you aim, go watch his videos, duplicate show me that you can duplicate what he does using the way that you aim. If you don't already use an objective aiming system, okay? Because there's other objective aiming systems out there. I'm going to say the whole genre of aiming systems really exploded with Hal Hull coming on the scene and putting this out there. And then people started seeing, oh shit, you know what? What if I do this? What if I aim this way? How about if I do that? What if I use my cue? What if I use the side of my cue? There's a lot of that out there, and a little bit of that was out there before Hal put it out there. But the point is that people started to really think about it more. One guy even created his own aiming system. He calls it poolology, and there's been a little, tiff back and forth once in a while between him and other CTE people or whatever, which has been unfortunate. But the point that I'm making here, though, is that were it not for the ongoing discussion about aiming systems in general, I don't think that guy would have spent the time to figure out something objective, mathematical, that works. He uses a math-based system, and it actually works. Now, I found it personally to be a little confusing for me, but then again, I didn't also spend the time that was probably should have been required to really, really learn it. So, but I can see that he can do it. I can see him pocketing balls, and unless the guy's lying to us about, his reference points and his math, I'm going to say that it's a safe assumption that what he's presenting is exactly what he's describing. It's exactly as described. And the same thing applies here with Stan Chuffet and center to edge aiming. So, Screw these knockers. They've not gotten in the last 24 years, in my opinion, they've not gotten one tiny bit better than they were 24 years ago. In my opinion. In my opinion, they've not improved, not even the slightest, tiniest bit. But I'm pretty damn sure that just about everybody who has undertaken to learn centered edge aiming, if they've given it any serious time at all, they've become better players, in my opinion. So even me, even lousy-ass John Barton with his wonky-ass stroke and everything, still found a way to become a better player through learning to aim better. So there you go. All right, so what kind of stupid shit can I show you? You know, like shots to the side right here, right? So if you said to me, I'll do it on the other side because so you guys can see the stroke and everything, okay? I'll come down here a little bit. But it's like take a shot like this, right? Cutting this in the side. Okay, that's, you know, a little bit of a steep cut there. And again, we don't talk about degrees of cut, okay? But if I had to figure this out here, let's put it even a little bit further down, all right? This is not a shot most people like to take on, cutting this in the side. They're filled with trepidation. They come over here. It's kind of a blind shot. They, you know, even trying to hold on to the contact point here is hard. But with centered edge aiming, this is how I look at this shot. I go up to it and I go, okay, we're going to use the right edge and we're going to use the middle of the ball, which is called B right there. B. Right edge, B. That puts me in this position. Right here where I'm at, that puts me right here, not here, not here. It puts me right in this position. Center to edge, edge to B. Come down, pivot over. That should be right in the pocket. Okay, look at that. I missed it like right there. Like here. That's where I missed it. Not here, not here, not here, right there. Okay, and if you were on the table with me, you would see that's, you know, not an easy shot, but let's shoot it again. Okay, let's be a little bit more diligent this time. Center to edge, edge to B. Same place. So now what that tells me is, I probably picked the wrong key or the wrong aiming visualization. So watch this. Edge to C right here. Okay, edge to C. So it takes me like a couple shots, but there we go. Okay, I'm down, pivot. There it is. Now let's do it again. Let's do it again just to see. Edge to C. Go, baby. Oh, kind of threw that one. All right. And see, like I said earlier, I'm a cheerleader for CTE. There's guys out there that call this shot and they've got it so down, they no matter what the shot is, they know what the right call is. Go, baby. Look at that. From this angle right here, from this angle, stupid, crazy angle right there, this is where the ball ends up. So, in an earlier life, when I didn't know that, I would never try to cut that. I would never try to cut that ball in or even think to do it. But with CTE, I'm right on this line, the no imagination shot line. The no imagination shot line. And no make shot line either, sorry. See where I missed it though? Look here. That's another feature of CTE. If you do miss it, you're going to be right within this area right here. If you've aimed it correctly with the right visualization. Now I'm going to focus really on my stroke. And that time we missed it there. Look at that. Here or making it. I mean, you know, and then when you go watch Stan's videos, you're going to see him do things like make this shot in 4 or 5 different positions from this position, just calling out different aims. Objective aims. Not guessing, but objectively looking at lines. Let's bank it. This one's going to be edge to B. Oh, that's a double. Hold on. Edge to B. You might be saying to yourself, that's an easy bank. Anybody can do something like that. Okay. Watch this. I'm probably going to embarrass myself right now, but I'm going to try to double bank it right here using, let's see, thin it out a little bit, so we're going to use edge to be inside. One more time, a little harder. Stan says you need pull sense here with this shot. With the bank shots, you know, you still need a little pull sense. Okay. Actually, on this one, I'm going to go edge to A. Dang it. Embarrassment. See, Stan, this is what I do. I try to show people stuff when I should just tell them to go look at your stuff. Because Stan's a master, and Jerry Williams and Mort online. Monty Ort, you know, you look for these guys. These are the guys that put in the time to master this so they don't embarrass Stan or embarrass CTE when they try it. But that's not me, because I'm just a cheerleader, mostly. There it is. Do it one more time. This is edge to A, for those of you who know anything about CTE. Oh, I reversed it. One more time. Don't put English on it if you want to make this shot. Get in there, baby. All right, that's enough. I'm embarrassing myself now. So that's it, people. So I'll upload this and that's it. But just remember, center pocket music, Pro 1, Stan Shuffit. Don't listen to the haters, man. They've got nothing to offer you except negativity. All the haters are doing when they're telling you not to do something is they're basically saying don't get better. You know, we're not offering you a tool or anything like that to get better. We're just saying, don't get better is what they're saying. That's all they're saying to you. You know, they're saying if you don't like where you're at right now, just go play more pool, go practice more, and that's it. That's so broad, so nebulous, you know, so imprecise. This is a precise method of helping you do one thing better, and that's aim your pull shots. That's it. This helps you precisely find the no imagination shot line. And believe me, if you're any kind of a decent player, you are going to love this so much, because now it just takes all that guesswork out. It takes all that second guessing out, and now you can let your stroke out. You know, it's beautiful. I can't say it any differently. It's not snake oil. This is the real deal. But it might not be for everybody, you know. This might be too dense of material for a lot of people. They might not want to put in that time, that mental effort. And that's okay too, right? Nobody is saying you're stupid or there's something wrong with you if you don't want to learn this, or you don't want to spend the time, or you don't want to put that effort in. There's a lot of people who love pool and they enjoy pool and they have a good time at pool at whatever level they're at without having to go and ingest a lot more information than they already have. So there's nothing wrong with that either. No one's trying to force this on you. But one thing we're actively not doing is we're not actively saying to you, don't explore, don't try. That's what these haters are saying. They're saying, don't explore. Don't try something that might help you, that you might like, that might be beneficial to you. They are saying, don't try because we are telling you that it won't be beneficial to you. We are telling you that this tool is not good for you. People who don't even understand how to use the tool. Can you imagine some dipshit telling you not to buy a hammer who's never swung a hammer? I mean, that's what it amounts to, really. If someone's out there going, this is a better hammer, it's got a better balance, you strike the nail more efficiently, you're going to have less fatigue on your wrist, or whatever, and this is a result of 10 years of research. Does it hurt you really to try it? These assholes are out there telling you that if you try that hammer, you're not only is it not going to work for you, but you're going to break your wrist. Now, if that were the case with that hammer, it probably wouldn't be allowed to be sold for 20 years. There would be tons of people out there who would be like, I broke my wrist using the miracle hammer. And it would be pulled from the shelves. That's how it works, right? So with the objective aiming systems, there's enough people out there, if you look around and you ignore the haterade, and believe me, the haterade comes from a very, very small community. And that small community is made up of small penis-minded men. If they collectively chopped off their penises, they probably wouldn't even get to 5 inches. And whatever they did get to, in my opinion, their brain mass would be even half of that. Now, why am I being so critical and mean? It's a direct reflection of these assholes. So if any of the words I said tonight sound stinky, it's because I'm staring straight into these assholes and I don't like what I see. But I'll tell you what I do like to finish this out tonight. I like people who tackle a subject. They get into it. They run every lead down, everything down that they can think of. And then they turn around and they produce something like this for the rest of us. Because I would never do it. I like CTE. I like objective aiming systems. I like the whole genre. Even though I was kind of dragged into it, I like it because I can see the benefit in it. But there's no fucking way that I'm gonna write a book about it. Okay? Now, I've written enough words about CTE, cheerleading for it, to fill a book, in all the forums, but I'm not going to write something comprehensive like this with the goal of breaking it down to the nth degree and explaining it and using every possible teaching technique that I know to bring you along with me so you can see what I see. I'm not going to do that, but Stan did it. And these hater assholes have nothing better in their life than to wake up every single day, They wake up literally every fucking day and jump on the forum to see if they can make another nasty ass comment about people who are out there actually doing something. So you little haterade bitches, fuck you. Enjoy it, motherfuckers, because this guy right here has done something, and someday he'll probably be in the Hall of Fame and nobody will remember your names. That's it. Good night.